I'm Hannah.
And I'm Shay, and we're Dinner National. Today, we're cooking Ethiopian food.
So this is pretty unfamiliar territory for both of us, probably more so for me because I haven't cooked or eaten it.
I've only eaten Ethiopian food once, but it evokes very strong memories of food that I grew up eating at home in India.
So the first lentil dish is going to be Kikulicha, which is a yellow lentil. That's the not so spicy one. And then I'm also making a misirwak, which is going to be the spicy red lentils.
And I'm going to be making Shira, which is a spicy chickpea flour paste dish. And it would be served with Atkiltobot, which is like a vegetable stew, and also Gomen, which is like a sauteed green vegetable. And we would be eating this with Injera, which is a traditional flatbread. We did not make that today, but we purchased it from an Ethiopian grocery store. So let's get started.
Kikulicha. These are the yellow lentils. We have some boiling water right here. I'm going to boil these for just 5 minutes, kind of soften them. You can soak these overnight, but it's not necessary because these are going to cook for quite a while. Boil these for 5 minutes, set them aside in the same hot water, and then we're going to repeat the same process with the red lentils. Boil, set them aside. Okay, so our yellow split peas are soaking, and I'm going to add the red lentils, and we're going to boil them also for 5 minutes, just like the yellow split peas, and set them aside. These red lentils are not part of the Kikulicha recipe. We just decided to boil them kind of at the same time so they could get their soak on, you know? All right, guys, so we're back to the Kikulicha. We're going to saute some onions in 2 tablespoons of ghee. This is about a cup of, maybe more, of a yellow onion. I'm going to saute this for about 8 minutes until these are kind of brown and soften. Okay, it's been 8 minutes. I'm going to add in our garlic and our ginger. This is 1 garlic clove minced and about a 1/2 inch of ginger that's been kind of slivered. Stir this, cook it for about 2 minutes, and then we'll add our turmeric and our salt. I'm going to add in our turmeric. This is 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and this is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Just mix it well, and then I'm going to go drain our yellow split peas, and I'll be right back. As you can see, our split peas have gone from 1/2 cup to more than a cup. We're going to add this to our pot, as well as 1.5 cups of water. I'm gonna just give this a good mix just to, incorporate everything. And I'm gonna bring this to a boil and then lower the temperature and simmer for 45 minutes to an hour. If you soaked your lentils overnight, it may take a lot less time to cook, so you just have to taste it, kind of give it a taste or feel and see if it's done. And then we're done with this. Okay, so now we are cooking the misirwak. This is basically the same process that we use to do the Kikulicha. The only difference here is that we're replacing the 1 teaspoon of turmeric with a 1/4 cup of berbere spice. So berbere spice is made up of spices that you can probably find in your own kitchen. Maybe we'll do a video about it. Wait and see. I'm gonna
Do you want to put that down?
Yep. So just a reminder, I'm going to saute these onions for about 8 minutes before I add the ginger and the garlic. As you can see, it is time to add our ginger and garlic. So like last time, 1 clove of garlic and 1/2 inch of ginger. Let this mingle with the onions for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then we're going to add our spice mixture. Here's a 1/4 cup of the berbere spice mixture. This is really gonna make it, fragrant. So nice. I'm gonna add some salt. This is 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, so I'm adding 1.5 cups of the water. Oof. Ooh. So spicy. Oh, I like it though. It's a good kind of burn. These are our rinsed red lentils. They're not so red anymore, but they will be once they get into this spicy sauce. So like last time, I'm gonna bring this mixture to a boil, and then I'm going to lower the heat and simmer for 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, so now let's go on to dish number 3. I'm gonna show you how to make Atkiltobot. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. So this is like a spicy mixed vegetable dish that's made up of carrots, potatoes, and cabbage. This is kind of following a familiar pattern for me. What I have over here is like 2 teaspoons of ghee. It's heated up, so I'm just gonna add some onions in there and saute it for about 5 minutes. So our onion is starting to turn a little bit brown. I mean, not quite, but it's soft. So I'm adding the ginger and the garlic that I slivered up. Just gonna stir this around. It's been about 2 minutes. I'm gonna add a teaspoon and a half of the berberine. And this is like about a half teaspoon of turmeric. Let's add some vegetables. I'm gonna add the carrot first and let it cook for 10 minutes before I add the potatoes, because all these vegetables cook at different rates. So we don't want one to get overcooked while the other one is still kind of undercooked. Carrots go in. So these are just carrots that we cut into discs. I'm really excited about this. Okay. So like I mentioned, the carrots got a 10-minute head start because the carrots cook a little bit faster than the potato. So this is one potato, like it was about medium size. We diced it. I'll give this a nice stir as well. So if you want at this stage, you can add a little bit of water. I've got say about a quarter cup of water. You don't necessarily need to add this. I'm going to cover it up and let it cook for another 10 minutes. I have to open my window because this got real smoky. So the potatoes are starting to get like a little bit soft and they're breaking apart. I added a little bit more water just to get them a little wet. This is about a quarter of a cabbage. This was a large guy. So this came up to about 4 cups of cabbage. If you had not added water to your pot, this might be a good time to do so. And then I'm gonna cover it and cook it for about 10 more minutes. I gave my vegetables a nice stir. So if you notice, so while you're not looking, I also added a little bit of salt, 1 teaspoon of salt, because there's a lot of like potato and things like that in there. So it needs a little bit of salt. Alright guys, so this thing is ready. I've got like a little bit of jalapeno minced. I'm just gonna add some of that in there, switch off the heat, cover it up until we're ready to eat. So dish number 4 is Shira. So Shira is a dish that's made of mostly chickpea flour and a couple of spices. It also has a base of onions, garlic, and ginger. So let's get started with the ghee. And into the ghee goes about half an onion. I'm gonna let this saute for about 5 minutes and then add my tomatoes. Okay, so my onions have been frying for about 5 minutes and the ginger and garlic goes in. It's like 1 clove of garlic and half an inch of ginger. It's remarkably similar how most of these recipes started, but they look and taste very different from each other. So it's been about 30 seconds. I'm just gonna add the tomatoes in there. This is about half a tomato. So the recipe actually asked for pureed tomatoes, but then we just left them whole because we like a little bit of textural variance in that. So maybe a little bit inauthentic over there, but yeah. So my tomatoes are getting a little bit soft and I'm just gonna mash this with like a potato masher a little bit because like I said, the recipe called for a puree, but I just used whole tomatoes instead. What I have over here is a quarter cup of Shira flour. This is already spiced and that's how I purchased it. But you can just get chickpea flour and mix in your spices. Read the blog for the exact ingredients. But this is all stuff that you have in your pantry right now. Like chili powder, cumin, things like that. So the chickpea flour goes in. And then I just give this all a really nice stir. Have the chickpea flour kind of coat our onions and tomato. It's kind of like making a roux. So it's been about 30 seconds and I'm gonna add water little by little. This is pretty much 2 cups of water, but I'm just gonna add like about a quarter of that for now. Give it a nice mix and gradually incorporate the rest of the water. So as you can see, my Shira is kind of bubbling, right? That's when you know it's kind of done. This is kind of like a thick consistency because it just goes on top of a flatbread. We don't want it to be super runny, but if you prefer runny, you can add a little bit of extra water in there. So our shira is pretty much ready, guys. So just before stirring, I will add like a little bit more ghee in there for some extra flavor. You know how we feel about extra flavor. And then we'll cook the next one. On to dish number 5, our last dish of the evening. I'm getting super hungry and I cannot wait to eat. For the last time this evening, I have 2 tablespoons of ghee heating up in a pan, and I'm gonna fry about half an onion. So this last dish, Gomen, is traditionally made with collard greens, but we went to 3 different stores and we could not find any collards for some reason. I read somewhere on the internet that kale can also be used as a substitute, so that's what we're doing as of now. I really like collard greens, so it would have been nice to get those, but next time. So our onions have been sauteing for about 5 minutes, and I have half a teaspoon each of cumin and coriander powder. I'll just give this like a quick stir and add my kale. You could have added collard greens like I said. So I cut this kale pretty fine, so it should cook really quickly. All it'll need is about 3 to 5 minutes. Oops. Feel free to add a touch of water at this stage if required, but mine looks good. I'm just gonna top it off with a little bit of salt and take it off of the heat. Okay, so this thing is called a Bayanetu Platter, which is like a vegan-friendly vegetarian platter. And as you can see, this is our Injera bread, which is like a sourdough that's been fermented over a longer period of time. We did not make this, we bought this at a store, but yeah, maybe we'll show you sometime. As you can see, this is a communal Ethiopian meal, which is meant for sharing. That's why both Hannah and I are eating out of the same plate. So the idea is that the Injera makes up our plate and the Injera makes up our utensil. So we just break up little pieces of Injera and then use it to scoop it. Scoop whatever delicious dish you want and then go for it. So this is our Kikulicha. This is our Atkiltobot. This is our Gomen. This is our misirwat. And this is our Shira. I cannot wait to get started. As you can see, we made small portions of each. Of course, there's a lot left over, but imagine when we are cooking like 5 things at a time one day and we're just 2 people.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad this is going to be a delicious vegetarian feast and I don't even miss the meat.
I definitely don't. So I've been tasting this as we go, and I think Ethiopian food might be one of my new favorites because I'd never tried it and I'm loving it.
Yep, I told you it was delicious. Let's dig in. So I got some of the yellow lentils.
I got the red.
Injera.
It tastes like a sourdough bread, you know? Kind of fermented. Very nice. I'm gonna try yellow lentils.
And I'm gonna try some of the Shira. This is like chock full of protein, you guys. I mean, it's chickpea flour. It's super healthy. And for people who eat vegetarian food and don't eat that much meat, protein is really handy and delicious.
Ooh, the greens.
Shira is really good. Try some of that. I'm gonna get some of the Gomen. Delicious.
This Shira is actually one of my favorites on here. It's so good.
And now some carrot and cabbage. Like I was saying earlier too, right? Most of these things start with a similar base, but all of them taste like remarkably different from each other. It actually brings out the real taste of the lentils and the vegetables. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm loving this.
Yeah. Cheers to Ethiopian cuisine.
Okay, so we're gonna finish eating. You guys, if you've not tried Ethiopian food yet, go find your nearest Ethiopian restaurant, or better still, make it at home. See you next week.